Sergeant Jerry Boyle, cop shop.
Oh, was it a sheep or something? It's a lamb.
I mean, what would his parents think?
I've got some information about that murder last night.
What murder?
How many murders have you had in the last 24 hours?
That's for us to know and you to find out.
All right, The Guard. Man, I know, Leon, you remember Columbo.
Hell yeah, I remember Columbo.
Yeah, you know how
every episode of Columbo.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Look at
Why would only
I know who he is.
Columbo?
He's that guy with that funny
because
eye.
he's the oldest one in the room. That's why.
I'm sorry to bother you folks. I'm just going to get out of here. Oh, you know what? One more thing.
Yeah, it was always that was his MO. He would always play like the dumbass.
Yeah.
He would always get on people's
And he's
nerves.
like, well, detective, did you ever consider that maybe it's because I was on the other side of the room? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're absolutely right. I'm so sorry.
He always
So
reminded me,
sorry.
like,
Oh.
if all of our dads, all of a sudden, like, somebody flipped a switch and he became a detective all of a sudden. Right at the last moment when you're like, oh, I'm getting away with this shit because that guy's too dumb.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden,
he's
somebody's
stupid.
like, by the way.
That was his whole thing. He'd act like a dumbass, and then he'd leave the room and have that one smart question he'd ask. He'd always catch the guy off guard because the guy'd be like, "That dumb motherfucker!" But oh shit, what do you mean? What I did? Well, I'm sorry. Now that's one way to like catch a murderer or a thief or somebody who broke the law.
Or you could just shoot him.
Or you can just shoot him. Yeah,
That's the
okay.
APD way.
That's true. That's the cop's way.
Look, a
yeah.
black guy.
Well, I was thinking more along the line of Brendan Gleeson in this movie because his way is to just be such an asshole to people that people just think like this guy doesn't care about anything but himself. The only thing he's thinking of is what is the next smart ass answer he's going to give me, and they underestimate him. And turns out he's one step ahead of everybody by his assholishness.
It's funny, like the movie sums up itself very well in a scene they put in the trailer as well, where Don Cheadle turns to him and goes, I don't know if you're the smartest guy I know or the dumbest.
Yeah. He just smiles and like,
And he's
well,
just like, I'm not telling you.
yeah, you'll find out soon enough. When I saw this crime, bitch, you'll know.
He's such an asshole that you just want to get away. You just want to like not be near the guy. So you're going to tell him your whole plot about what you're doing, and you'll pretty much give you like, I'm going to turn myself in just so you could stop being such an asshole to me before I start crying.
He's
Well,
like
the thing
a-
is,
he's
you
a-
would confess to him because he just seems like he could not give a shit. Right. Whatever you're doing. Oh, you're doing drugs? Give me a little extra.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
get the fuck out
That's
of
a
here.
guy who will never be impressed with anything.
Right.
Anything at all.
It's weird, like, in some definitions you would say he's a corrupt cop, right? Because he is not obeying the law, absolutely. He is grifting off of
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, absolutely.
But on the whole, when it comes down to it, here's a guy who just goes, why are we even giving a shit about this stuff? This is dumb. This isn't hurting anybody. I'm not going to bother. I've been doing this too long to care. But, here's something that does matter, and I am actually going to get involved and get serious
It's
about
also because he's in a small town where nothing major ever happens.
Yeah.
Until
Yeah.
suddenly drug runners show up.
Well, yeah, that's the whole deal. I mean, you're right. He's sitting up there like, look, we got a dead body right here. Lights up a joint. This is what we need to be worried about, not this shit you see going in my mouth right now. You don't know what you're gonna do.
That's not bad shit. This is some good shit.
Yeah, it's not the good shit. Let's look at the bad shit. Blood or weed? What you gonna look at right now? So you're right. Yeah, he's Brendan Gleeson is what's his name? Sergeant Jerry Boyle.
Yeah.
And he's a
Boy.
he's a small town Irish cop, and he just has this personality. Like you're right, Coles. He couldn't give a shit less about anybody, couldn't be impressed with anyone. If you can't do anything for me, I can't do anything for you, and let's just do our jobs. Let me go home and have sex with some whores and like do some drugs. You know?
Yeah.
This town is so small. He was literally the only cop in this town
That's
when the
right.
movie starts.
Oh, yeah.
He's like started by being introduced to a new partner being forced on him. He's like, I don't need you here.
I was just fine. Actually, I do need you. Go run the rest. You can get me some coffee real quick. Hurry your ass on back over here. Which makes it even worse when he has to like team up with a straight by the books FBI agent who's come to town, played by Don Cheadle. And the reason why this FBI agent has come to town is because stakes are a little higher now. It's like there are drug runners and drug smugglers who are in town, and as much as you think you're the local super cop, you gonna need you need us to help you out with this case. Of course, Brendan Gleeson's character being what it is, he's like, well, you can tag along, but I don't give a shit about you either. So, whether you can say we're going to do this your way and come in here with your big FBI bullshit, I don't care.
And and that's the best part of the movie, just the insane chemistry of these guys trying to work with each other, or let's just say Don Cheadle trying to work with this asshole of a cop that he has no desire to help, doesn't give two shits, kind of laughs at him. Every time he tries to say something important, it's almost like, that sounds like, you're trying to say something that we should all be paying attention to, but who gives a shit?
It's also he does that while throwing out just a shitload of racial epithets.
Yeah.
I mean, we say like, oh, he's a lovable asshole, but he is quite an asshole.
Well,
He'd be hard for anybody to deal with.
That's part of his game, though.
Oh,
as
true.
It's become clear because this movie, it sounds like the way we're describing it, like we'd be describing a buddy cop film, but we're totally not. Because as the film goes on, because you first see him, you're like, oh, he's really funny, but yeah, he's a jerk. He's like obviously just a redneck. But as it goes on, Don Cheadle is almost the audience avatar in slowly, grudgingly coming to terms with the fact that this guy is much, much smarter than you are and knows what he's doing the whole time.
I mean, he's smarter in that, it's his territory.
Yeah.
He's local. He knows the real shit. And like all these other cops who they know the right thing to say, they're more official. You sort of realize that like, wow, they're probably more incompetent than he is, and they're a bunch of dumbasses.
And the thing is that you get the gist of what this guy is all about, and it's not until that the problem comes to him where he's like he's really begrudgingly like really doesn't want to take part in any of this. He's just going through the motions of what he needs to do until this problem arrives at his doorstep, and that's when you're like, okay, now what is this guy going to do? Because once you see him in action, you're like, oh, okay, he's not just going to sit down and take this shit.
See, you know what? I would slightly disagree with you in that it's not that he doesn't care. He does care. He just knows what he's doing so well that he doesn't want to go through all the red tape, all the rituals of what people think, whatever fronts you need to put up as appearances. He's like, I'm a smart enough guy to where I know what I'm doing. We can get this done a lot quicker if you cut the bullshit. Let me do my job.
FBI first show up and they're going, oh, there might be a drug runner showing up. His first take is like, great, we're sitting around and waiting for a boat for days on end out in the fucking cold. Fuck this, fuck you, I'm out of here. And you're like going, okay, when you put it that way, you do have a good point. That sucks. And the FBI coming in, putting their shit down. All right, rednecks, get out of the way. We're the FBI. You're like, okay, yeah, I can see why you'd be pissed. But then when these drug runners do in fact show up and start murdering locals, well, then it's on.
Yeah.
And this is not a guy you want to piss off.
No, it's not. And, I would say to a certain extent, for me, it is a buddy cop film, but they just happen to center more on an unconventional character who is there to test you as an audience member. He plays the audience like he plays everybody else around him. And that's the beauty of this movie. This is such a well-written character that it's one of those, for me, it's a movie that brings me in along as a character in the film because I'm being tricked. And like when he comes in and starts talking to Don Cheadle and he starts saying things like, drug runners come in town. So what are they? Are they black or Mexican? I'm like, wait, what the fuck did you say? They had to sit me down the theater. I was like, I was coming to the screen. What the fuck you fucking talking to me? But you better take that shit back. And everybody like, hey man, hey. It's like,
I was like, come on, Corey, that's a valid question.
Well, you have a point there. So.
Like it's about time.
Now.
Yeah, it's, like,
but if he calls me a nigga, that's it.
It's about time somebody said it.
Everybody's booing me. Hey, sit down. He's right. All right. I'm sorry, but
and I want a dime bag after the movie's over. Hey, you fuck you.
But
I can sell you 2 nickels.
But if you're smart, I mean, look, this is not a movie like this is not going to let a character who has these kind of racist tendencies continue to be this sort of prejudice or racist throughout the whole film. If you pay attention, you learn like, oh, this is this guy's game, and I really have to he's keeping me on my toes now. This is a movie I cannot be bored in because I have to I feel like I have to be one step ahead of this guy, and I'm still not smart enough to keep up with him.
Right. He's constantly testing the barriers of everyone around him with shit like throwing out these racist things and then going, whatever, dude, I'm just fucking with you. Come on. And like, wait, what? Because that's how he really gets the measure of people. That's how he gets in charge of the situation, is doing shit like that.
I'm only having a bit of fun, don't mean nothing by it.
Right, $500 million worth of cocaine. You think this is a fit subject for levity?
Street value.
Excuse me?
Street value. You lads are always announcing a seizure of drugs worth a street value of $10 million or $20 million or $500 million. I do always wonder what street it is you're buying your cocaine on, because it's not the same street as I'm buying my cocaine on.
That's enough now, Boyle. We've had enough of your wisecracks for one day. If you continue on in this vein, you can consider yourself under suspension.
Oh, I doubt that.
You doubt that? Boy, you got a set of balls on you talking to your superior officer like that. If we were back in Atlanta...
We're not back in Atlanta, though, Eric.
If we were back in Atlanta, you would be busted.
Galway.
You'd be giving out tickets to jaywalkers.
Galway.
That's it, Boyle. You can consider
You're
yourself...
not hunting 4 men, you're hunting 3.
How's that?
McCormick is dead.
What makes you think he's dead?
Well, put it this way, I hope he's dead because they put him into the morgue anyways.
And it does. It totally works for him.
It does work for him, but I was kind of in Corey's camp. I was just like, look, goddammit, I know. A joke's a joke. You keep saying this shit over and over. I'm starting to think you mean it.
Leon and I looked at each other like, what the fuck?
I know. It's like a racist with a heart of gold.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Like I said,
I'm Irish. You don't even want to know what my people went through.
And the thing is, like, you know, the actor playing this character,
Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah, it hit me. I was like, oh, this is the motherfucker that was in those
Harry Potter
movies. Yeah, I was like, wow. You know, it's like I feel bad because it's like you see his performance in this movie and you're like, damn, dude, why were you wasting your time on those Harry Potter films?
All right, co-host, he's been in a lot of movies before.
Really?
Yeah, he was already big before he was in those Harry
Well, it's
Potter
funny
movies.
you should bring up him in this movie because one of the things I was going to say about this is that it reminded me of a movie. I like it better than the movie I'm going to compare it to, but Brendan Gleeson was in a movie called In Bruges. Mm-hmm. And this and this is sort of a dark comedy in that vein. I mean, yeah, you know, there's the stuff we see up front, the accents, you know, small European town. It's Brendan Gleeson, but what made In Bruges work was that you were dealing with characters that normally you would not like, but you're supposed to spend some time with them and they grow on you. And Brendan Gleeson is he's a little bit above that. And in Bruges, he played a killer. Here for all intents and purposes, he is a corrupt cop, and by no means, even by doing it his way, should he be doing the stuff that he's doing. But yeah, just the way they blended all of the dark action in it, the comedy of a leading character that we shouldn't root for, but we cannot help but love, just reminded me so much of In Bruges, and this is to me a better version of something like that.
I would compare this much more to a film like Fargo, for instance, where you've got a provincial cop whose behavior totally belies the fact that they are, in fact, really smart and totally know what they're doing, dealing with a bunch of, like, basically trash criminals and situations that get out of control real quickly, even amongst the criminals themselves. And it has that great mix between being, while it's funny most of the time, every once in a while it gets really dark and really bloody, and it takes you every single time. You're just not ready for it to do that. Like, whoa, that was kind of heavy. Actually.
It's not predictable.
It also does that thing with the criminals. You know, your 3 main criminals. It's like not only do they commit crimes and they're scumbags, but they have this banter between each other or with other people. Like Mark Strong is, you know, he's the one British criminal on their side. And he has the way he deals with the other people, other criminals he has to deal with, are just like being kind of stepping outside of it. Like, man, the people we have to deal with in this business, I don't know if this is for me.
Well, that is the funny part. Like, I mean, it's not all about Brendan Gleeson and Don Cheadle. I mean, you got not to the extent that we're with our main characters here, but the smugglers. I can't remember one of the guys' name.
Liam Cunningham was one of them, and then, as you said, Mark Strong. I don't remember what the other guy.
Yeah, Liam Cunningham. He's I really enjoyed him. He's kind of the leader of these drug smugglers that come into town, and these guys have a way of like treating their job like, hey, look, we know we're kind of scum, but we're working like everybody else. We're working class people.
They all seem like annoyed of what they're doing. Like their job is like, man, fuck. It's like, can we just get this over and done with?
Yeah, it's a job.
Like, it seems like that's all the characters in this movie.
This job sucks. It's fucking cold here.
Yeah.
We're on a boat.
Yeah.
But again,
they're bitching like you want them to. But the thing is, what I liked about this film is that the characters are so unpredictable that it makes the story completely unpredictable. Where I had no idea where this was really heading to, especially when they bring in Don Cheadle, where you kind of get, okay, this is his character is our point of view. But there's a point where he almost like he kind of disappears.
See, I was going to say that one thing I'm disappointed about is that Don Cheadle doesn't come in until halfway through the film, and he's not even. It's not even like a strong presence all the way through. You like him when he's on, but yeah, he disappears for long.
But he appears, and it's another aspect where you're like, okay, now I really don't know where this is going.
But you know what? It's not about Don Cheadle. It's
poster
really
says it is.
It's really actually no. On the poster, it's
It
there's
says, Leon, this is not about.
yeah,
them.
exactly. I actually yeah, you didn't see that part on that? No, you know what I saw? It's funny because I'm looking at the poster right now. They do have Don Cheadle in that, but I did see one poster where they didn't have Don Cheadle.
That's probably the European poster.
It's
People
probably
were like, "Who the fuck is Don Cheadle?"
I'm serious. Yeah.
It's the one in Ireland.
Well, you can't go by trailers and posters. I mean, this is a character piece where you have Brendan Gleeson as your central character. It's supposed to be about him and how he's outwitting everyone, whether they be drug smugglers or the FBI around him. Don Cheadle he's meant to be like the straight man to demonstrate that a little bit more. And Don Cheadle serves his purpose there. I mean, Don Cheadle is, he does excellently what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to like give more definition to that leading character there. And he plays a great straight man here, and not straight to the point where he's just uptight. I mean, he gets his lines in there too. Even though he's straight laced, he's not afraid to tell Brendan Gleeson, "Hey man, fuck you." I love that scene. He comes in. Because did you notice there's one scene where Don Cheadle is wearing a bad suit, just an ugly suit, and everybody's thinking that. They're like, "Man, that suit looks terrible." And then Brendan Gleeson comes in, he's like, "Hey, nice suit. Do you juggle too?" And he's like, "Man, fuck you."
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because that's the one time he goes, "Yeah, fuck you." But I was like, no, he's got a point. I mean, I was like, look, whoever wrote this clearly does not know a lot of black people because they think we all dress like pimps from 1970.
I hate to say this, Leon, but have you ever seen the line for a Tyler Perry movie? We do very much dress like that.
No. Okay, maybe you do.
Probably not FBI agents.
Yeah,
What if you ever see me fucking dressed like that?
You just said we.
I said we as black people as a whole.
Well, I'm saying I never do, but Cyrus brings up a good
Leon's
point.
serious. He's got to take his purple hat off to get talking.
Yeah, man. Look.
Your feather hit me in the eye, man.
At the Apollo or Tyler Perry movie, you will see brothers dressed up like the Riddler, in super bright clothes and bowlers and big coats. But Don Cheadle was dressed up
Shoes with live goldfish swimming around.
But Don Cheadle had on conflicting patterns and polka dots and colors. I mean, he was dressed like a ringmaster for a circus.
See, I thought he was so sick of that dude being just such an asshole to him. He actually lost his mind, and for some way or another, he channeled Willy Wonka out of the blue.
What? Austin Powers just said, "Really, baby, chill it out."
Yeah, he was wearing
that was some British mod shit.
No, it was bad. He was wearing a Joker jacket with like a Jackson Pollock shirt.
I mean, he honestly looked like Willy Wonka. I was waiting. I was wondering if the Oompa Loompas were in the background drinking beer. I mean, just like getting fucked up. I mean, it was like,
damn,
but that scene, you're just like, oh man, you're gonna get it. You should know better. You're telling Don Cheadle, you should know better.
and thank God for Brendan Gleeson because he said exactly what we were thinking.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Except a little more clever. I mean, I guess if I had any complaints about the movie, I don't know. I think the climax got a little too goofy for me. I mean, they actually did a thing where people get shot and they delivered. And I'm talking about the very end where people get shot and they deliver a one-liner before they fall dead. And it seemed to, the movie was being so clever with its humor before, it just seemed to just kind of not fit the tone what they did at the climax.
See, I loved the ending, partially because they're starting that, and it's like, oh, they're having fun with this, even though there's a certain degree of darkness. But there's a moment that comes for Brendan Gleeson towards the very end that's so dark that reveals this really kind of brutal side to his character that I was like, wow, I actually like that given everything else we've seen about
I like
him.
that part too. I like the very end. There's just the little spots during that climax that I didn't like. Yeah.
It seemed like they were trying to wrap it up. I mean, it felt a little rushed to me.
It did.
Exactly.
But there were points in the film where at least for me, I thought it was just a little too slow sometimes, where I was kind of sitting there and I'm like, I'm enjoying the dialogue. I'm really enjoying this character. But there were moments in it where it just seemed to like have little lulls every once in a while that I was like, okay, this needs to hit a little. This needs to pick up just a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know, man. It's one of those comedies where I can hardly find anything bad about it. I can see that pacing throwing some people off because it does take its time in the middle, but that didn't really bother me too much. One of the most clever movies that I've seen this year is definitely one of my favorites. Yeah, I give this a high full price.
It was very enjoyable, certainly for Brendan Gleeson. Every reason we named it's an enjoyable film. I do have to agree with co-hosts that it did slow down in the middle. There was the lull because it was just like one laugh a minute and just so enjoying it, and then it was just that little bit of a lull. I wouldn't really take anything from it for that because I think a movie does need to slow down every so often. But it was the transition from that lull to the third act with what you were talking about, those little bits of silliness in the in the climax, where it came home to me. It's like, you know what? As much as I enjoy this and it's doing something fresh with these characters, you strip it down, it is still a buddy comedy. I mean, a buddy cop film from the '80s with all the same cliches that go with it. You know, what happens to the partner, the fish out of water. One's from this hemisphere, the other. One's rough around the edges, and with the way the climax worked out, I'm like, I feel like I've seen this in a bunch of action movies from the '80s, probably on cable multiple times. It's enough for me to give it a very high matinee.
Wow.
You didn't feel like that the whole buddy cop thing was intentional?
No. I felt like it was intentional and played upon well until it got toward the end where I was like, well, like when Cole said, the way it felt like it was rushed to wrap it up. And it gave me that feeling like, dang, this is the thing I don't like about those kind of movies.
Wow. I can't agree with you. I'm sorry. I can't. I wish I could. I understand that you're saying you can look at these elements and go, oh, I guess those elements were in there in the plot, but they were in there in such a way that was not like even vaguely the way they were done in 80s cop films that I'm like, okay, I guess. At best, it was deconstructionalist of some of those elements, maybe?
No, Hot Fuzz was deconstructionalist.
Well, Hot Fuzz was nothing but deconstruction.
Right.
Whereas this felt like the introduction of a new... In fact, I'm surprised. Is this based on a book or a series of books about this character?
I couldn't tell you. That's a good question.
Because it feels like the beginning of a series about like this cop. It really does. Because he's such a fascinating and strong character who has a really big darkness inside.
To answer your question real quick, the director here who bears mention because he just has a really cool visual style too, John Michael McDonough. I don't think this is based on the book because he wrote this too.
Okay, fair enough. Well, anyway, it's Gleason's show in so many ways, and he owns it. He makes his character his own. He gives it so much dimension. The other characters aren't given in as much depth. They're more cartoonish, to be fair. Even Don Cheadle, but they're all supporting players to Brendan Gleeson, and it is indeed his show. I think this is a type of film that, like I mentioned earlier with Fargo, that fans of the Coen brothers, I think, are really going to dig on this film. I think it's actually one of the smartest films I've seen this year, and most subversive in its comedy in a lot of ways. I give it a high full price as well.
I mean, it's a smart film, smart dialogue, but I see where Leon's coming from with that kind of buddy element comes into play, and especially when you see the climax of it, it's like I've seen this fight scene before. I have seen it. I'm sorry. Yeah, they have the greatest character that to hit the screens in a long time, but at the same time, it's like. It's kind of like they paint them into this picture you've already seen a billion times. So I have to the picture kind of lose points on that aspect of it. But like I said, it's smart characters, well written characters, should I say? And it's just a unique film where I'm like, this is as far as not knowing about a film, walking into it, and you realize, okay, this is kind of like an independent film in every aspect of it in a good way. I was really pleased with it, but. Like I said, the little lull in it, it kind of is taking me out for a bit. And they're like the Coen brothers would do. They always throw something at me where it's like a jolt. This one didn't do as much as I was hoping it would. So I have to give it a matinee. Yeah.
All right. Well, obviously, co-host, you and Leon are the smartest people in the room because y'all are a couple of assholes.
Damn, sorry.
Well, we're no Brendan Gleeson.
But you're goddamn close to it.
I would never. Yeah, just saying his name, I feel stupid. Damn.
Look at it, they're here.
Have you ever been shot before?
Yeah.
Does it hurt?
Did you grow up in the projects? No, I did not grow up in the projects. I actually come from a very privileged background. Some in the Hamptons, skiing in Aspen. Thought black people couldn't ski. Or is that swimming?